In the dimly lit confines of his modest room, Julian's steps echoed his mounting anxiety. His sister, Cheryl, a maid in the imperial palace, had vanished into thin air.
Cheryl is always punctual. This disappearance is unlike her. Something's amiss.
Julian knew that a mere maid in the grand palace could easily be lost in its shadows.
She spoke highly of Queen Rose, calling her humble and kind. But now, these whispers of a new concubine. Could there be a connection?
His thoughts churned as he retraced the steps they took together in happier times. Through the drawing room, her modest bedroom, the quaint kitchen. Each room brought back memories and deepened his concern.
I must find her. I'll start at the palace. Someone there must know something.
Julian's determination took him through the streets, his strides quick and purposeful, leading to the majestic gates of the palace. The guards, recognizing him as a scribe, granted him entry.
I seek news of my sister, Cheryl. She served Queen Rose.
Julian's inquiry was met with dismissive shrugs and vacant stares. The palace's grandeur stood in stark contrast to the coldness of its inhabitants.
She's more than just a name on your roster. She's my sister, and she's missing.
Julian's pleas echoed through the ornate halls, but the truth of his sister's fate remained an enigma. The weight of the unknown bore heavily on him, his sister's fate as elusive as the whispers that haunted the palace corridors.
This place, I feel its curse. I will uncover the truth, no matter what lurks beneath the surface of this royal facade.
His resolve was a flickering flame in the dark, pushing back against the overwhelming power and secrecy of the sprawling labyrinth of the imperial palace. Julian moved with a mix of determination and apprehension. As he approached the palace officials, Julian's heart pounded with a blend of hope and fear.
I haven't heard from my sister, Cheryl, in over a week. She's a maid here, in service to Queen Rose.
Well, if she's pretty, which she must be if she's in the service of Queen Rose, she probably ran off with some knight. Happens all the time.
Julian's fist clenched, fury boiling under his skin. The casual disregard for his sister's welfare was like a slap in the face. But he held his tongue, knowing he needed this man's cooperation.
Please, just check it out.
He slid a few silver coins across the table, a silent plea wrapped in a bribe. The official, unmoved by the urgency in Julian's eyes, lazily accepted the coins.
Fine. Where does your sister work?
Julian's jaw tightened. The official hadn't paid attention to his earlier words, a clear sign of indifference. He slammed his fist on the table, violently tossed the coins across the room, then grabbed the official by his collar.
You are clearly not understanding my urgency. You will answer me as if the king himself is asking. Do you understand? Yes, my apologies. You had said she works for Queen Rose.
The official quickly flipped through the ledger in front of him. His finger stopped on a name, and he looked up.
Cheryl, right? Says here she's been reassigned. Reassigned? Where? Doesn't say. Just that she's no longer with the Queen. You'll have to look elsewhere.
Julian's heart sank. Reassigned. The word echoed ominously in his mind. Why was she moved? Where was she now? Julian's mind raced with possibilities, each more worrying than the last. As he walked the grand halls of the palace, every step felt heavy, burdened with uncertainty and fear for his sister. The idea of Cheryl quitting her job was inconceivable.
I need to find a way into the Western Palace. Someone there must know about Cheryl.
The Western Palace, where Queen Rose resided, was his next target. But as an outsider, his access was limited. The thought of barging into the Queen's palace without permission was reckless, even dangerous. He needed a subtler approach, one that wouldn't alert the entire palace to his presence.
Queen Rose. She's known to be kind to commoners. Maybe she can help. She must be on good terms with Cheryl.
Energized by this new plan, Julian quickly applied for an audience with the Queen. His request was a gamble, but he had no other choice. His sister's disappearance was a mystery that needed solving, and he would do whatever it took to find her. He ran back to the official from earlier.
How long will it take to get an audience with the Queen? I can't wait forever.
The waiting list is 2 weeks out. But with some convincing, I can put you on the list for today. Julian gave the official his remaining coins and made his way to the audience chamber, where he was met with a long line of petitioners, each waiting for their turn to speak with the Queen. The sight was disheartening, but Julian was not deterred. He joined the line, his mind focused on the task at hand.
I'll wait as long as it takes. For Cheryl.
Julian's heart pounded with a mix of anticipation and anxiety as he stood in the grand audience hall. The majestic thrones of the king and queen loomed ahead, an imposing sight that would intimidate even the bravest of souls. But Julian's resolve was unshaken. His sister's safety was his only concern. He adjusted his posture, trying to alleviate the growing ache in his legs. The weight was excruciating. Directly in front of him was a man carrying a baby.
Isidore, shh, everything is well, my boy. You're fine.
Julian glanced at the father ahead of him, who juggled between pacifying his child and maintaining his composure. The baby's gurgles and coos filled the hall, a stark contrast to the solemn atmosphere. Julian passed advice to the father.
Sir, the baby looks warm. If you loosen his attire, he may cry less. Oh, you're right. Here, Isidore, let me fix this for you.
You, sir, come forth and pay your respects to His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Queen. It was at that moment the Queen's bright demeanor darkened. It was as if she had seen a ghost.
Your Majesty the Queen, this baby has never been in his mother's arms. You, as the Queen, embody a mother's spirit to all citizens. Please, could you hold my child, granting him a mother's blessing?
A hush fell over the audience chamber. All eyes turned towards Queen Rose, whose face had turned into an inscrutable mask. The tension in the air was palpable. The murmurs among the spectators grew, a mixture of confusion and concern. Julian felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He couldn't fathom why the Queen would hesitate. Her refusal or acceptance could set a precedent, and perhaps even influence his own audience with her.
What's happening? Why won't she respond?
Alan stood there, a picture of vulnerability, holding his child out towards the Queen. The baby, oblivious to the gravity of the situation, gurgled softly, a stark contrast to the growing tension in the room.
He is a beautiful baby, isn't he, my Queen?
The silence stretched on, the moment hanging in the balance. Julian's heart pounded in his chest, his own worries momentarily forgotten.
Please, Your Majesty.
The whispers in the hall crescendoed into a chorus of murmurs as Queen Rose reluctantly extended her arms. Alan, his face a mixture of gratitude and apprehension, gently placed the baby into the Queen's embrace. Rose's movements were rigid, her discomfort visible to all.
He is beautiful, isn't he?
The baby's eyes, dark and reminiscent of Rose's own, stared up at her. A wave of terror washed over Rose as she saw the uncanny resemblance. Her heart raced, her mind reeling with memories of a tragic past, of holding a lifeless body that once brimmed with innocence.
He is as beautiful as you are, my queen.
Aldrich's words only intensified Rose's fear. She clutched the baby closer, as if to shield him from the world, from the past, and from the truths she wasn't ready to face. But the fear was more than she could bear. The chilling memory of loss gripped her, her body trembling with the haunting echoes of a tragedy long gone, yet ever present.
Please take him back.
Yes, Your Majesty. He looked so comfortable in your arms.
Alan, sensing Rose's distress, quickly reclaimed his son, cradling him with a father's gentle touch. Rose couldn't meet Alan's eyes, nor could she bring herself to look at Aldrich. A cold sweat broke out on her forehead as she grappled with her emotions, her fears. But as she wrestled with her own turmoil, Rose failed to see the understanding in Aldrich's eyes. He had known all along. The resemblance between Rose and the baby was not lost on him. He had pieced together the truth, the secret of the child Rose had tried so desperately to hide. Amidst the sea of onlookers, a silent understanding unfolded. King Aldrich's gaze lingered on Rose, interpreting her rigid demeanor not as discomfort, but as an expression of a mother's concealed longing and love. In his eyes, Rose's stiffness was a mask for the deep sorrow of a mother separated from her child. He empathized, seeing in her actions a purity of love, a sincerity that transcended her otherwise enigmatic and recently cold persona. The king's secretary, aware of the ceremonial procedures but oblivious to the undercurrents of emotion, discreetly gestured to Alan. It was time to conclude his audience with the king and queen. Through the echoing hallways of the palace, Alan's footsteps were the only sound accompanying his quiet whispers to the baby. His voice was tender, a contrast to the rigid formality of the audience chamber they had just left behind.
Isidore, your mother longed to be with you, to hold you close.
The baby, with his deep black eyes reflecting the dim light of the corridor, gazed up at Alan. He made small, innocent gestures, his tiny hands reaching out, trying to embrace Alan's neck. A wave of melancholy washed over Alan, his heart heavy with a mix of sorrow and resentment.
I should be the one by her side. It is the three of us who should be together. The king, he has taken her from me.
The audience chamber buzzed with a subdued anticipation as Julian stepped forward. He was a man on a mission. His instincts honed on the streets as a scribe amongst the commoners. He began, bowing deeply in respect.
Your Majesties.
Rose, observing Julian, felt a flicker of recognition. His face was familiar. A reminder of the time before her wedding, when she had vowed to be a queen of the commoners. His words back then had painted her as a beacon of hope.
Ah, the scribe who lauded me as the light of the commoners. This should be a pleasant audience.
A soft, comforting smile graced Rose's lips, a stark contrast to the tension that had gripped her moments ago. She was momentarily distracted from the unsettling encounter with the baby. What concerns have brought you to our court today?
Your Majesty, my sister, Cheryl, has been a palace maid. It's been over a week since I've heard from her. The palace official claims she's resigned, but it doesn't add up. We've always been close. She would have informed me of it.
Rose's ease evaporated, her brow furrowing.
My sister was born and raised at home, so even if she had quit her job, she wouldn't go anywhere else. We've never fought, nor is there any reason to. The palace official said she must have run away with some knight who fell in love with her, but my sister is single, so there is no reason for her to run away.
Julian's desperation was palpable in the audience chamber. Aldrich, maintaining his composed demeanour, probed further, keen to unravel the mystery.
You mentioned your sister's name was Cheryl. She worked closely with the Queen, didn't she?
Rose felt as though a cold hand had gripped her heart at the mention of Cheryl's name. Her face drained of colour, reflecting the sudden turmoil churning within her.
What can you tell us about this, Queen Rose?
Aldrich's memory flashed back to Rose's harsh punishment regarding Cheryl. A grim understanding dawned upon him, but he kept his thoughts concealed, waiting for Rose to speak.
It's a pity indeed.
Julian turned towards Rose, his eyes filled with a blend of hope and desperation. He still held faith in the Queen he had once praised.
Queen, please, do you know what happened to my sister?
Cheryl and another maid were the only ones close to me, burdened with much work. She left her position, saying it was too hard for her. Since then, I've had no news of her.
But she would have come home if she had quit. Why hasn't she? Yes, it is indeed strange. Rest assured, I will make sure this matter is thoroughly investigated. Thank you, Your Majesty.
The audience chamber was filled with an uneasy tension. As Julian left, gratitude etched on his face, Rose's mask of composure began to crumble. Once the chamber was cleared, her anxiety was no longer hidden.
Were you really going to disclose the truth about Cheryl to that scribe?
Did you not foresee the consequences of your actions?
But Cheryl was at fault. She committed a grave offence.
Even so, her family deserved to know.
I did nothing wrong, Your Majesty. I am the Queen. I thought such actions were within my rights.
Rose's defence was laced with desperation, but Aldrich's expression remained unmoved.
Yes, as Queen, you have the authority, but that does not shield you from criticism or consequences.
Rose's mind raced with fear, especially of the silver bird in Aldrich's room. The bird was a living testament to her deceit. She dreaded the possibility of the bird revealing her guilt.
You must learn to bear the weight of your decisions, Rose.
Leaving her with those words, Aldrich departed, his footsteps echoing through the empty chamber. Rose, left alone, pounded the floor in frustration before rushing to seek counsel from Duke Elegy. Duke Elegy observed Rose, her face awash with tears, as she sat helplessly in the chair. He quietly set down her favourite snacks on the table, trying to offer some comfort.
I had to punish a maid once, severely. She knew too much.
Is that so?
I had no other choice. You can't let such betrayal go unpunished. But now, her brother, a scribe no less, the one who interviewed me, he came asking about her.
Ah, that does complicate things. Duke Elegy's sigh deepened Rose's sense of despair.
What am I supposed to do? That scribe, he's demanding answers about his sister. She's imprisoned.
Why didn't you just tell tell him that she's imprisoned for her crimes.
He wouldn't accept that. Even if she confessed, he'd still blame me, still hate me.
Then let His Majesty handle this matter. Rose shook her head violently, a look of fear etched into her features.
No, you don't understand. If Aldrich reveals the truth, it'll all come crashing down. Everything. My position, my reputation, everything I've worked for.
Duke Elegy watched as Rose's face crumpled under the weight of her fears, her eyes brimming with tears.
Aldrich is furious with me for punishing her. I think he secretly admired her beauty. And she had eyes for him too.
Is that so?
But that's not why I punished her, not at all.
Of course not, Rose. Rose's gaze was pleading, seeking comfort in Duke Elegy's calm presence.
Aldrich won't help me. He just left me, angrily, without a word. I don't know what to do. I'm so scared.
Rose, you are the Queen. If this situation escalates, it would affect the imperial family's dignity. And you carry his child. He'll have to step in eventually. You can be assured of that. Duke Elegy's words, steady and reassuring, washed over Rose like a soothing balm.
I don't know what I would do without you, Duke.
I'm always here for you, Rose. Rose's eyes filled with tears once more. She rested a hand on his shoulder and smiled at him. His attitude was a stark contrast to Aldrich's distant coldness. As Duke Elegy gently draped his arm around her trembling shoulders, Rose leaned into his embrace. For a moment, she was like a fragile deer, seeking refuge, burying her face in the Duke's chest. In the soft glow of the room, a slight, almost imperceptible smile played at the corners of Duke Elegy's eyes.
My room was cluttered with stacks of account books, a vivid reflection of the monumental task that lay ahead of me. My desk, usually pristine, was now a chaotic landscape of ledgers and documents. I had decided to delve into the country's financial details, comparing the ledgers while organizing the salaries and duties of the palace staff. This'll take some meticulous planning. As I was engrossed in this intricate puzzle, Haxon entered, bringing with him a fresh batch of documents that only added to the mountain of work.
Your Majesty, with the Celestial Isles now an empire, our administrative structure needs to match our new status. Your insight is invaluable in this process. Truly, it's a relief to have you on board.
The documents Haxon handed over outlined the reorganization of various roles within the Empire. Some jobs would vanish, others would be created, and many would undergo mergers or splits. Though the framework was there, the details were still rough, awaiting my expertise to bring them to life. This is quite a task. Haxon, noticing my overwhelmed expression, coughed uncomfortably and looked away. However, the faint smirk on his lips betrayed his relief at passing the burden on to me. The rest of the day was a blur of activity, as I juggled multiple responsibilities. The room, once a quiet sanctuary, had transformed into a bustling hub of empire management. While I was working, one of Henry's secretaries came to me.
Your Majesty?
Yes, is something wrong?
His Majesty has asked me to bring you to him.
I couldn't imagine what this could be. Then it hit me. My office. It must be finished. I was puzzled, though, when I was led toward Henry's office instead.
Follow me. It's this way.
I followed Henry across the corridor with a sense of disappointment. To my surprise, he led me to a door opposite his office. It opened, revealing my new workspace. A splendid office, adorned with book-filled walls and a grand desk positioned near the window. The room was an elegant blend of green and gold, with an attached small reception area. It's incredible.
Do you really like it?
I love it. It's perfect. Henry's face lit up with satisfaction at my genuine approval.
I have selected some potential aides for you. They are all competent, loyal, and diligent. I thought you'd prefer to make the final choices. If they're not to your liking, I can find others. Is there anything else I can do?
I could not hide my excitement. Henry, seizing the moment, gently placed his hand over mine, intertwining our fingers with a casual, yet intimate gesture. I stared at him and pulled him in for a kiss. Before I made the choice on an aide, I intended to give Henry a lesson. I grabbed the bulge in his pants. You can loosen your pants, Your Majesty. Sometime later, after we had finished quite a long and rough session, we sat by the windowsill, breathing deeply as we dressed, covered head to toe in each other's sweat. The topic shifted to Catherine.
Catherine had quite peculiar behavior during the wedding reception, didn't she? I had initially considered sending her to Compshire, but I was constrained by my brother's widely known last wishes.
I hadn't noticed, but that is such a tricky situation. Henry didn't outright say, I think my sister-in-law has feelings for me, yet the implications were clear from his account of Catherine's behavior. It wasn't difficult to discern the affection she harbored for him. Is Catherine truly in love with Henry? I found myself wrestling with a sudden impulse to suggest sending Catherine away. The words almost tumbled out, but my customary habit of careful deliberation held them back. The more I pondered, the clearer it became that exiling Catherine to Compshire wouldn't solve the underlying issue. It was merely a temporary escape from an uncomfortable situation. The Western Empire was home to many nobles who supported Catherine. Sending her to Compshire, a city rivaling the capital in splendor and cultural richness, might actually amplify her influence. In her solitude, she could attract more nobility, enhancing her standing in high society. Moreover, Henry was bound by his late brother's wish to look after Catherine. Disregarding this could raise suspicions, especially given the mysterious circumstances surrounding King Wharton III's infertility and untimely demise.
My queen, are you well?
Yes, I'm fine. I forced a smile, trying to mask the turmoil within. Deep down, I believed everything would eventually fall into place. Yet the unease persisted. My thoughts drifted to the numerous letters I received from noblewomen the day after the wedding reception. At the time, their purpose was unclear. Now, with Henry's recount of the reception's events, the pieces began to fit together. Perhaps things weren't as dire as they appeared. But still, an uncomfortable feeling gnawed at me. Why did the thought of Catherine's situation cause such disquiet? I had the servants move the account books and documents that were in my room to my new office. When the task was finished, it was time for lunch. I decided to dine with my ladies-in-waiting. In the middle of the meal, Matilda delivered some unexpected news, disrupting the peaceful moment. Your Majesty, there is a rumour floating around, and I feel it's important you're aware. And what is this rumour? They're saying that Catherine and His Majesty the King have a secret affair. Laura's fork clattered loudly against her bowl, her expression turning fierce. A secret relationship? That's absurd. The rumour is spreading like wildfire among the nobility. It's causing quite a stir. I could feel the tension rising around the table. This is outrageous! How can such false rumours spread unchecked? Send Catherine to Compshire immediately. You can't just wait for the king to make his decision. You know this. Matilda, did you find out who started this rumour? My voice was steady, but inside I was racing to piece together this puzzle. It is sad that at the reception His Majesty was seen escorting Catherine to his room privately. It seems that several ladies witnessed it. Let's not jump to conclusions. Henry explained the situation to me. It was nothing more than a moment of concern between them. My voice carried a calm I didn't entirely feel, trying to diffuse the tension. While he had mentioned Catherine, he did not mention them leaving together, nor did he mention spending time in his room with her. So, it was all just a misunderstanding. Yes, it was, or a flat-out lie. And we should see it as an opportunity, rather than a problem. Laura and Countess Julia exchanged glances, their expressions still lined with worry. Yes, blessing in disguise. Their sympathy opens a door that was previously shut to me. But sympathy can be a fleeting sentiment, Your Majesty. Perhaps, but it's a start. Before they viewed me with cold indifference. Now there's a chance for something more. But isn't there a risk they might see you as weak? There's always a risk. But I'd rather be seen with sympathy than not seen at all.
Father, I've returned home. Father, I met with Rose, as you asked.
As was expected, Alan. What did she do?
Well, it was hard to read. She appeared quite overwhelmed.
Did she enjoy it?
As far as I could tell, meeting Isidore was a good thing. A flash of Rose's red-eyed stare at the baby came into his mind. She looked sad and red-eyed, but he figured it was due to the emotional nature of the moment, and the basis of that joy was meeting their son. When she was pregnant, she loved Isidore so much that she talked about the pregnancy constantly. I think she went half crazy when she learned, presumed, that he was dead. The motherly love she had cannot be erased by circumstances.
Very good, my son. And now that a second concubine is in the mix, that insolent girl will finally become obedient.
Liliana, who had overheard the whole conversation, looked up in surprise.
A second concubine?
What are you speaking of, Father? Frustrated with his children's ignorance, Rothescue gave Alan a swift smack in the face, and he turned to Liliana with a gaze that was not a physical blow, but it might as well have been.
How is it possible that your youth affords you no more information than your old father has access to? Your eyes and ears must always be open and attentive to what serves us.
Liliana cast her gaze down and pursed her lips. Emptiness had consumed her since Queen Bronwyn's departure to the Celestial Isles. She had made friends and was well on her way to becoming a lady within Elisarian society, but she was not interested in anything besides protecting the woman who had given her this life.
King Aldrich has an insatiable eye for women, it appears. There is a girl in the castle, a sorceress supposedly, and everyone expects her to be his new concubine.
He has Rose and still seeks romance outside of that? Alan's stomach twisted into knots, thinking of how he would behave as king with Rose by his side. It was a fantasy he was not unfamiliar with since he began his relationship with her, but he had pushed it from his mind for quite a while. Liliana, moody and brooding up until this point, looked up at her father with shining eyes.
What does this glow in your eye mean?
I will be His Majesty Aldrich's third concubine.
Alan, who was drinking tea in silence, spit out his drink in pure shock.
which unintentionally landed right on his father's face. Viscount Rothescue shot him a furious glance, and Alan lowered his gaze in fear. He wiped his face with a handkerchief and probed his daughter further.
What nonsense are you saying, Liliana? The future of our family depends on your marrying a young nobleman from an important family.
His gaze softened momentarily.
You must find a husband who has eyes for only you, who has no concubine, a man who is sincere and good.
That woman who dares call herself queen is what will be the ruin of our family. I will seduce the king and make tears of blood flow from Rose's eyes, and then I will leave the king and identify a suitable nobleman to marry.
You live in fantasy, girl.
I will make them both pay for what they did to Queen Bronwyn.
Do you really think King Aldrich will notice you when he has already had a wife like Queen Bronwyn, and now he has the angelic Rose by his side?
Do you imply that I do not compare to women like them?
Alan and Viscount Rothescue remained silent at her awkward question. Liliana, whose eyes first welled with tears, quickly turned her hurt into anger and landed a blow on her brother's shoulder, missing the baby he held by only a few centimeters.
The violence in this family is what will destroy us!
I was awakened by the sweet smell of pastry and tea. When I opened my eyes, my king was staring at me beside a trolley of breakfast he had prepared for me. When our eyes met, he kissed me lightly on the forehead. Overcome by the yawn of having just woken up, I covered my face with the sheets. But he continued to kiss the parts of me that were exposed, showering my fingertips in love.
Are you hungry?
This view is giving me quite enough satisfaction at the moment.
May I remain beside you as you wake up today?
I gave him a gentle nod, and he lay down beside me, the front of his body curled against my backside. The window was open, and the seaside breeze grazed my skin as his warm arms enveloped me. The stimulation was enough to wake me up. I sidled closer to him, and suddenly felt his body change. For a moment, I thought he was returning to his bird form, but the part of his lower body pressed against my backside was transforming in a uniquely human way. I pushed myself closer to him.
Oh.
He put his hand on my wrist and tightened his grip so much that it was as if he was channeling all of his strength not to pull me until our bodies were fused. I waited for him to undress me, the next natural step. But he kept his hands where they were, our sensitive parts brimming with heat. Is this all you want from me? To feel the silk of my nightgown against your skin?
I want all of you.
Then why aren't you taking more of me?
I prefer it when you overpower me.
I smiled at this little game we had begun to play in the bedroom. You have to want it enough. Show me. His grip on my body intensified, and his hands moved all across my thighs, shoulders, and arms. He touched me in the way I knew he wanted me to take him. His grip was as intense as our attraction, and the pain felt like pleasure. After a few moments of this, it was me who could no longer hold back. Get off me, turn around, lay back. And he did as I said. Your Majesty, I have chosen so many beautiful dresses for you, but our options are limited because of the marks on your body. You must delay your morning appointments while I find suitable options. I blushed, knowing the source of those marks. All I could do was nod, smiling to have such a titillating secret. Let the king know that if he likes this kind of love, to do it in the parts that will be hidden by your wardrobe. I couldn't help but laugh. and cover my mouth with my hand. Once I was dressed, I made my way through the corridors to the council meeting, which Matilda had informed me about. In Elisaria, I attended all of the council meetings. And although I was unaware whether Catherine did this during her reign, I was determined to be a new sort of queen. Henry welcomed me to the meeting.
Hello again, Your Majesty.
It appeared Henry and I were in sync in more ways than one, since we arrived at the meeting at the same time.
I see you plan to join the council meeting.
That I do. Anxiety formed in the brief moment before hearing Henry's response. Would he shoo me away, wanting power of the state to himself? Or would we rule as a unit? To my surprise, he extended his arm.
Let us enter together.
The council members stared while Henry and I made our way to the seats at the head of the elegant meeting table. I tried to ignore the awkward atmosphere. Soon enough, they were all too absorbed in their own business to pay any attention to the woman in the room. But there was one man who did not take his gaze away from me. Marquis Clifford kept his eyes locked on me, staring unpleasantly. When the time came to discuss the eternal 1,000 bandits, he finally spoke up.
Since the Queen has decided to grace us with her presence, I believe we should hear her opinion. There are 6 territories that are at risk of being attacked by the bandits, but if we provide support to all 6, our troops will be widely dispersed.
He paused as all heads in the room turned towards me. He cocked his head, feigning genuine interest.
Her Majesty's original home is in Elisaria. Their kingdom fought the bandits for centuries. What do you suggest we do, Queen Bronwyn?
His tone was riddled with disrespect and disdain. But while many women cowered at such an address, I enjoyed rising to an occasion to put a man in his place. Before I could, though, my husband stepped in.
Marquis Clifford, have I overestimated your competence? Bronwyn has been queen for only a matter of weeks. Do you need someone who has lived in your homeland for such a short time to do your job for you?
Oh, my apologies, Your Majesty. It was rumoured that she was smart, but perhaps...
We must attack. If we don't know which territory they'll enter first, we must be the first to attack. We'll keep our troops intact.
What? And risk them invading the capital to seek revenge? It is clear you do not care for the well-being of our homeland. Only yours.
Watch your tongue.
Do you mock me, Queen?
I just find it surprising how little you know about the eternal 1,000 bandits. They are driven by profit and profit alone. If the counterattack is not profitable, they will not carry it out. Our capital is safe. As you said yourself, it is true that I was raised in Elisaria, so I have a great deal of experience in this matter.
And who do you suggest we put up to fight such brutes?
Sir Oscar Troby can lead a battle against them with his eyes closed. He's fought more than 50 battles against them. I have also been advised by an untraditional lady-in-waiting who carries a spear everywhere she goes. You can consider her my advisor. It appeared the Marquis was left at a loss for questions to attempt to stump me with. And I sat back, satisfied, to watch the rest of the meeting in silence.
Well, sister, I suppose you wasted no time in putting me to work.
Do you fear you cannot handle it?
Don't provoke me, sister. You know firsthand you don't want to see the results. It is best that I spend some time training, though. It has been some time since I faced those bandits.
I can help. Oscar and I both whipped around to see the source of the voice. Cedrica, whose presence was often hard to miss, had entered my room from the parlour without me knowing. I'm sorry, it was impolite to barge in on your conversation, I know. But, Your Majesty, I can be of great service here. She looked at me with pleading, glassy eyes. No, wait, she wasn't looking at me. Her gaze was fixated on Oscar.
Do you want to come with me?
I cannot leave the Queen's side. That is my duty now, but I can train you in the fighting style of the Celestial Isles. Paired with your own training, the bandits will be no match for you.
You are quite a woman, it seems.
I'm Cedrica, and I am a lady. Silence! The Queen is here.
Rose walked slowly up and down the single-file line of women she had formed and took a look at her potential maids. She had gathered the local women who were daughters of prisoners, knowing that her power over the fates of their families would be good leverage in the future. She was tired of having people she couldn't trust, and had learned the hard way that it was more effective to rule with fear than with love. Once, Rose might have taken pity on these women. She could pardon prisoners several times a year, which these women knew. They desperately needed her help, and she revelled in it.
Viscountess Amelia, come closer. We must speak in private. Yes, Your Majesty. We will conduct a test. Take these women to the parlour, then return in approximately 15 minutes. Why, Your Majesty? Question my motives again, and I will find someone else to be my lady-in-waiting.
Viscountess Amelia scurried away and did as Rose said. Rose sat alone in the banquet room, eyeing her surroundings with pride.
Mine. All mine.
She rubbed her belly.
And yours.
When Rose heard the women returning, she rose from her chair in a panic.
My pearls! My precious pearls! They've disappeared!
She turned to the fearful women staring at her in shock and confusion.
One of you must have taken them. Who was it?
The women looked at each other, puzzled. They had all just been standing there. Why would the Queen leave her pearl earrings in the banquet room? But the Queen was so angry that no one dared question it.
Who was it?
Rose sat on her bed, smiling contentedly at how her plan was already working. Just as she expected, Viscountess Amelia soon followed her.
What's happening, Your Majesty? You aren't wearing pearls today. How are the women? Frightened, Your Majesty. Bring them here one by one. Advise them that if they tell the truth, they will not be punished.
Viscountess Amelia's expression was one of disappointment and discomfort, but she nodded and followed her orders. The plan ensued, and Rose studied carefully how each woman responded to the situation.
Do you know what happened to my pearls?
Some were so frightened that they lied. Others named the women who they thought looked the most suspicious, or the ones of lowest noble rank. Some even dared to say that they had witnessed the crime firsthand. Rose dismissed the women who admitted that they knew nothing.
How boring.
Once all the women had been dismissed, Viscountess Amelia returned to her queen.
Have you made a decision on which maid you'd like to join our team? The ones who lied. What? May I ask why, Your Majesty? Flexibility is required at the royal palace. Truth can be the enemy of justice for those who deserve it. That may be true on occasion, Your Majesty, but you may not always be the one who benefits from the untruths.
It was not only blatantly immoral to hire a liar to work in the most important place in the country. In addition to that, Viscountess Amelia did not want to work so closely with someone who might make false accusations for their own convenience. Working for Rose was difficult enough as it was. Rose merely smiled at her.
Tell the women who said they saw nothing to keep this all secret, at the risk of damaging my reputation. All right. Tomorrow, we will send guards to their homes to question them about what went on here today. I would also like to hire the ones who keep it a secret.
Viscountess Amelia looked at the floor, defeated. She prided herself on her good conscience, but, lately, it had been taken from her by Rose. Yet she had no choice but to follow the Queen's orders. The next day, Viscountess Amelia returned to tell Rose of the results of their test.
Whichever maid seemed to be the best liar. Yes.
Rose brushed her hair and hummed nonchalantly.
Assign her to Skylar.
Skylar shifted uncomfortably at the news she was receiving a maid. She had never had a maid before, and was not particularly comfortable about being waited on in such a way. All she wanted was her magic back, and there was something suspicious about the woman who seemed to want to know what she was up to more than she wanted to actually help her with anything. But given the kindness Aldrich had shown her, she did not want to be rude, and therefore had no choice but to accept. A saving grace was that she spent a great deal of time with the court sorcerer, given that she was acting as his assistant. So she had the opportunity to avoid the maid, and she took that opportunity whenever she could. It was while Skylar was preparing herself for her daily duties that she became particularly suspicious of Agatha, the maid Rose had sent her.
Miss always wears that necklace. Oh, this.
Skylar picked up the simple but elegant necklace that encircled her throat day and night, a gift from the Magical Academy as far as she knew. What she didn't know was that the necklace was actually built to return her magic by King Henry himself.
It was just a gift from my school. Does the Academy give all their students such luxurious gifts? It looks very expensive.
Agatha smiled sweetly at Skylar, but her mind was racing as she convinced herself that the necklace must have been a gift from Aldrich.
I don't know what the other students receive. If you'll excuse me, Agatha, it's time for me to return to the sorcerer. I knew it! Here, for your good work.
Rose handed Agatha a ruby and a diamond bracelet.
Find the opportunity to steal or destroy that necklace. Yes, Your Majesty. And get out. Time is coming. That wench of a deposed queen has cursed me.
Ever since the encounter with Julian regarding Cheryl's imprisonment, Rose felt like Aldrich was slipping away from her. He came to check on her and the baby, but his warmth was gone. It was only a matter of time before he would turn his attention to another woman.
He will be wooed by someone he seems sensible and smart, not ignorant like he thinks I am.
She covered her belly.
Baby, you must be born soon. Who is it? Good afternoon, Your Majesty. Your parents have come to visit. Let them in. Mother! Father!
After a short but warm embrace, the family sat down on the sofa in Rose's room.
Rose, we wanted to check in on the status of Wren. Who's Wren?
Our daughter.
Your sister. Oh, of course. I'm so sorry, parents. I've been completely overwhelmed by the duties of queendom. It simply slipped my mind. I use her name so rarely, for I only think of her affectionately as sister. I'm certainly looking for her. You need not worry.
Her parents gave her a warm, gentle smile, and Rose returned the affection. But inside, her blood was boiling. She did not like when there was another woman for her to compete with, whether it was with her husband, her parents, or even her maids.
I will find her soon.
Perhaps we could help.
We could scour the countryside for ourselves. If we had the funds, of course. You want money?
Well, just a loan to help find your sister. Rose had let her emotions overcome her for a moment, and regained her composure.
What's mine is your family. Ask Baron Lant for whatever you need. I was busy at work when Matilda came to me with news about Lady Milani's history. I have the information you asked for regarding Lady Milani, Your Majesty. Thank you, Matilda. Go on. It appears Lady Catherine is not the only person she has competition with. Her cousin, Carlisle, is the successor to her father's title. This does not bode well with Lady Milani, as Carlisle was adopted to be his successor. So, Lady Milani gets nothing, and her adopted brother gets everything. That's the thing, Your Majesty. Carlisle will inherit the title, but Lady Milani is set to inherit her family's entire estate. So, her family finds her quest for greater power and nobility to be quite petty, when she was born into such luck. This has created a divide in the family, in deep support of Lady Catherine, and a great competition between Carlisle and Lady Milani. So, public opinion of Lady Milani is that she's selfish. Correct. So, if she is to be one of my companions, we must change public opinion. Call in Lady Milani and her adopted brother. Yes, Your Majesty. It was only a day later that Lady Milani and her adopted brother arrived. You called us, Your Majesty. There was an air of suspicion in Lady Milani's voice, which I found reasonable, considering the fact that I had made clear that I wanted our alliance to be kept secret. Yet here she was in my office. I need your assistance with a trade matter. Why me? You are aware that there is a member of Rhett's royal family in the Celestial Isles as we speak, are you not?
You speak of Grand Duke Bjorn.
That's right, Carlisle. Simply by acknowledging her competitor, Lady Milani's cheeks turned red. I did not expect it to be this easy to provoke her, at least not this quickly. I continued to speak, deliberately avoiding her gaze. He and I have decided to conduct the first trade agreement between our different continents.
But isn't the distance too great? I am not sure the likely profit will be enough to compensate for the time lost, and the rough journeys our soldiers will face.
I was genuinely impressed by Carlisle's trade knowledge. Not to be outdone, Lady Milani spoke up next. Private traders who have attempted this in the past were unsuccessful. It must be attempted with care. And that answers the question of why you both are here, to approach it with care.
Your Majesty?
I need you to gather relevant information on Red, and find out what the most effective items would be to trade to cover any potential disadvantages for us. They stared at me in shock. I have heard that your father has exceptional business acumen. Since you are his successors, your abilities must be on par with his. Prove it. I shared my plan with Henry over dinner.
They are both inexperienced. You feel confident leaving the task to them?
I am not leaving the task to them. I'm overseeing a task while measuring their abilities.
And what if they prove to be useless?
Then I will simply support Lady Milani, who has already proven her loyalty to me.
And if they're both useful?
No problem with two useful subordinates. Henry put his knife and fork down. Was he upset with me? Did I appear heartless or cold?
It is impossible for me to concentrate when you speak with such authority.
You like it when I'm in control, don't you, my king? He looked at me with his dark, sensual eyes. Suddenly my appetite was only for him, and I forgot the juicy steak on my plate in front of me. What strange tastes you have.
You are such a delicate flower. It is impossible to contain myself when I watch you turn rough. I like it when you're rough with me.
I set my cutlery down and walked over to him. He began to stand up, seeming to think I wanted him to meet me in the middle of the room. Sit down. He did as he was told. I came over and sat on his lap, and he pushed the hair away from my face.
Do you like it when I touch you?
I crave it. He leaned in closer.
I only need to do something once to master it.
Why don't you try this then? Serve me. I moved our table settings out of the way frantically and propped myself up on the table, my open legs facing Henry. Slowly, I picked the skirt of my dress up, hinting at where I wanted him to go. He got down on his knees and buried his head where I could no longer see him. I felt his kisses up the inside of my thighs, heat emanating from both of us. I leaned back, caring little whether I got my dress dirty with the table settings, and let him serve me.
Baron Lant stood nervously in front of Aldrich, reporting on the enigmatic Duke who seemed to have no intention of returning to his own maritime country. Tell me more about what you've gathered on Duke Elegy.
There is strong evidence to suggest that he is in cahoots with pirates, as many maritime royal families are.
That has been a long-standing myth about maritime families. Tell me more. Anything specific about him?
Well, the scandals he has had in high society are quite strange.
Strange how?
It seems that while he is the common denominator in many of these scandals, he always seems to come out on top. He winds up being painted as the victim in the court of public opinion, leaving those he has interacted with quite marred in reputation. He is not a good man, Your Majesty, and he has a close relationship with the Queen. It worries me, because everyone he has a scandal with ends up hurt. I understand it is customary to allow distinguished guests to stay as long as they wish, but I believe it would be best if you decided that Duke Elegy's welcome had come to an end.
The noblemen of Elisaria were impressed. The crystal house sparkled under the shimmering stars of the clear night sky, and the tables were laden with meat, ale, wine, fruit, and pie. The room was filled with men in suits, and there was not a woman to be seen. Until Rose walked in.
Hello, gentlemen.
The men marveled at her beauty, glowing in a purple dress, looking like a lilac blooming in spring.
I hope everyone is having fun.
Rose delicately picked a grape off the table closest to her and popped it in her mouth. But instead of swallowing it, she toyed with it in between her red lips, appearing to be sucking on it. She enveloped it slowly. The men, being men, had thoughts that turned carnal, which Rose knew would happen, especially after filling them with drinks. But she swallowed the grape the way she planned to swallow these men, whole, after sucking the juice out.
Everyone sit! Why is everyone looking at me?
Rose had come to understand who she was among these people, and decided to play to her strengths instead of her weaknesses. If she couldn't join them, she would certainly beat them, and her beauty was the greatest weapon of all, a quality that she was sure could win any battle. In the history of Elisaria, there had never been a men's-only party hosted by the Queen. Rose was going to be her own kind of queen, one the men yearned for, one the women were desperate to befriend in order to keep their husbands loyal, at the risk of the Queen taking them away.
She watched the men imbibe and sat back smugly, waiting to be showered in love. The next day, Rose was barely paying attention to Baron Lant, who came to her with his concerns. Although Rose thought she had everything under control, she had no way of hearing what people in society were whispering about, and while people were certainly enamored with her, not all that was being said was positive. Baron Lant had to choose carefully what he expressed to Rose, as both she and King Aldrich had become more and more volatile with each day that passed. He did not know whether to discuss people's low opinions of her fake parents, who were fallen nobles, or Marquise Faring's efforts to bash Rose and her reputation in high society. People were also concerned about the status of the unborn child, and the kind of precedent it would set for who could reign. But there was one person he knew he could start with.
Duke Elegy has a bad reputation, Your Majesty. Unpleasant rumors have already begun to arise from all the time you spend with him. He is not worthy of your attention. Because of your closeness with a man who is considered a womanizer, the raucous men-only party you threw is considered a bit,
Rose stared at him, waiting for him to finish, but he feared he had already said too much.
The people of this country don't want me to have friends.
They do, Your Majesty. Just friends you can trust. Perhaps it is worth befriending some new ladies-in-waiting.
Ladies are unkind to me. I need men on my side.
But, Your Majesty, people see you as...
I don't care what people think. My reputation is being marred by women who pine for my status. First the deposed queen, now that wretched sorceress.
Baron Lant stood in shock, internalizing that his words were falling upon deaf ears. Rose would do what she wanted, when she wanted, and his advice meant nothing to her.
It's because Aldrich cares for that girl. We must do something about it.